For as long as people have been flying FPV drones, some of them have been asking, why do we have to use these stupid things? Not lithium batteries themselves. We wouldn't have FPV without lithium batteries, thanks to their incredible energy density and current capacity. But this style of battery is just a pain in the butt. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just stick this kind of battery in an FPV drone, fly it, charge it in just a charger where you just plunk it in like a AA battery, it charges it up, no settings, no nothing, just nice, handy, convenient batteries. Well, that is what we're looking at today. This is the NewBeeDrone LionBee, and it is, in fact, a quadcopter from NewBeeDrone, of course, and all you have to do is plug in a battery, and it's good to go. You want another one? Just take it out, grab it, fumble the battery, drop it on the floor. Why hasn't this idea taken off before now? Because this isn't the first time a drone like this has been made. Previous iterations on this type of drone struggled because, number one, the batteries didn't have enough current capacity. They couldn't deliver enough current. This thing, though, they've gotten a lot better. This thing's rated for like 35 amps nominally. Is that going to pan out in real life? And the other problem is that this only comes in one size. It's 3,000 milliamp hours, and it's relatively heavy compared to like an 800 or 900 milliamp hour lithium polymer battery that could deliver plenty of current and make something like this much lighter. But on the other hand, 3,000 milliamp hours should fly for a really long time. The question we're tackling in this video is, has this idea finally come of age? Has technology finally caught up and made this kind of drone, which is, to be fair, super convenient? Is it finally ready for prime time? I'm Joshua Bardwell, and you're going to learn something today. The first thing we have to do before we can fly this and find out if it's any good is build it, because NewBeeDrone doesn't ship this quadcopter in the form that you see here. It ships as a development kit, and I don't really know why they're calling it a dev kit. Like, it's just a flight controller and a frame. What are you going to, like, develop? But whatever. It's a kit that you build. And so the first thing we're going to do in this video is I'm going to build it. And that will serve both as kind of like a tutorial for people who want to see how it builds, and also as part of like the review, because if you're going to sell it as a kit, then the process of building it is also the part of the process of deciding if you want to buy it. So if you want to see me build it, that's going to be the next part of the video. And then the part of the video after that will be me going outside and flying it. And if you're like, well, I just want to see how it flies, you can skip ahead. There's chapter markers down below. But now, let's get on with the build. Whenever you start working with a new frame, it's a good idea to orient yourself. It can be really easy to mix up the front and back of some frames, and also sometimes, including in this case, the frame will have a top and a bottom of the plate, so you can't just flip the plate over and have it work the same. With the LionBee, the front of the frame is going to be this flat section here, and the rear of the frame is going to be the side with this little U-shaped cutout. I assume that's going to be for the antenna or something. And then on the arms, take a look at this little cutout here and notice that on the other side of the arm, that cutout does not exist. That cutout is for the motor shaft, which sticks down just a little bit below the base of the motor. So this is going to be the top, and this is going to be the bottom. The motors are going to be the NewBeeDrone Flow 1202 motors. It is really important when you're working with a 1S drone, especially a 1S drone with larger props like these are 2.5, 3-inch props. It's really important that you get the exact right motor. When you have very small motors and very small props, even on a 1S battery, you just got massive KV. They're going to spin. You might get a little more flight time or a little less flight time, but you have a little bit of leeway in exactly what KV and what size motor you choose. Think about whoop-sized motors. They go from all the way down at 10 or 11,000 kV to all the way up to like 30 or 40,000 kV, and it kind of just works. But when you're working with larger props and lower voltage, like a 1S battery like we are here, and especially when you're working with a battery, a lithium-ion battery that doesn't have as high of an amp rating, although frankly, this 18650 battery we're going to be using probably will put out more amps than most like 1S whoop batteries. Anyway, apples to apples comparison. When you're working with a situation like this, we want to make absolutely sure we have the exact right motor. The kV is going to be very important to tune. A high kV will overdraw the battery and cause a lot of voltage sag. A lower kV will not give us the thrust we need to get that relatively big and heavy battery off the ground. The motor is 1202 in size and 11,420 kV, 420 kV. That's probably a coincidence. And I don't know, is that good for this prop? This is a, let's see, 30-20 prop. I guess we're going to find out. Presumably, NewBeeDrone has done their work.
So for this first part of the build, you want to grab your frame and your motors.
Now, NewBeeDrone says that these motors come with mounting screws and you should not use them, presumably because they're the wrong length for this frame. I do not seem to have any screws with my motors, so there's no chance of me using the wrong ones. The screws that you want to use are these M2 by 4mm screws that come with the LionBee kit. We're going to use those for the motors and other places in the build. Hi, it's Joshua from the future. These are the 6mm screws that come with the motors that you're not supposed to use. But the question that I don't have an answer to is, where are the 4mm screws that are supposed to come with the kit? I have got 5 M2 by 4s, but that's not enough to mount all the motors and do everything else we're supposed to do with the 4mm screws. I don't seem to have enough 4mm screws. Maybe they were left out of my kit. I don't know. I'm checking with NewBeeDrone to see what they say. In the meantime, thank goodness, I have a bag of M2 by 4mm screws that I found from a while back that I will be using. As always when installing motors, the motor wire should go up the arm towards the center of the frame, and the best way to do it is to start with one screw sort of loosely inserted, and then get the second screw and line up the motor hole and get that one in. Only tighten down the screws after you have all the screws sort of loosely started, because once you tighten it down, the motor won't want to move. Also, NewBeeDrone recommends using only 2 screws, 1, 2, to save a little bit of weight. You could do 4 screws if you want a little bit more durability. We're going to go with 2 screws here. You just got to make sure they're good and snug, and they do have Loctite on them, which from the factory, which is going to help make sure they don't work loose. There we go. I'm going to get the other 3 motors off camera.
So after installing your motors, now we're going to go ahead and prepare the camera. So you want to go and grab the same screws, the canopy, your camera, your ELRS antenna, your VTX antenna, and a zip tie.
The canopy is oriented like this with the top and the bottom, and obviously the front and the back. And for the camera, the cable comes out the bottom. So the camera is going to go in like this, and the camera is just going to slide in like so. Wire is going to come out the back to one side or the other, and we're going to line up the camera's mounting holes with the holes in the canopy here, and we're going to use those same M2 by 4mm screws that we used to mount the motors to mount the camera. Next, we'll take the video camera, and it's just going to slide down. This slot's not going to fit. Okay, so we'll just open up the slit in the back, and we'll push it in. Is that what we do? There we go. There we go. There we go. Just going to put that in there. When you put the antenna in, rotate the antenna, see, like that, so that the UFL connector faces up like this, because the connector is going to be on the underside of the board. Here it is right here. And so that you don't want that cable to be twisted. It'll make it want to pull off. And then we're going to secure the antenna. But before we do that, we want to make sure it's the right height. If it sticks out like this, it may, I'm not sure, but I think it may hit the bottom plate. So we're just going to pull that up slightly, so it's got just a little bit of clearance above the bottom. So we're going to take a zip tie. We're going to pass that zip tie around. May need to get a tweezers to pull it. Yes, I got it. Jesus Christ. Tweezers was not cutting it. We have gone to a forceps. It will let us to actually get a goddamn grip. There we go. And we'll just cinch that down. And usually when I do this kind of thing, I like to have 2 zip ties just for a little extra tension, but I think that was enough of a pain in the butt. I won't. We'll really get that nice and tight so it's compressing the TPU and squeezing it in to help hold the antenna in place. There we go. The Express LRS antenna is going to mount through these small holes here. We're just going to slide the UFL connector back through the bottom like that. And then we'll just wiggle it through these holes. And everything bends just there you go, and get it back straight into shape.
Now that we have the whole front set up, now let's go ahead and install it. But before you do, you want to make sure that you grab the correct screws. These are M2 6mm, and there's 3 of them. So obviously you're going to need 2 to install the front of the canopy, and they're going to go in the bottom. And obviously they're going to be M1.5.
M2 by 6mm and 3 of them. Well, I guess I got all these extras from the motors that I don't need. Where's my M2 by 4mm, NewBeeDrone? Those 6mm screws are going to go up through these holes in the frame, from the bottom side, of course. And they are going to go into these holes on the camera pod. There is no standoff or anything in there. They're just going to go into the TPU, and the TPU is going to be thick enough that it's going to grip. I will say that getting these started can be a little tricky. You kind of got to press and squeeze and get the threads to bite, because there aren't any threads in the TPU. It just is, it's just squeezing on the metal. And also, if it's not lined up exactly right, it's not going to dig into the TPU correctly, and it's not going to want to screw down. There we go. Nope. See, I'm just off center or something. You got to kind of find the very beginning of the hole for the screw hole, and just kind of like press against it and turn the screw and hope it bites. Now, when you tighten those down, wait until you feel them fully seat, but then don't keep going, because you'll just rip out the TPU, right? You're going to feel it get snug, and then you could kind of keep rotating it, but it's not going to get any tighter, and it might get looser.
Now let's go ahead and move on to the back for our GPS unit. So let's go ahead and install that.
The GPS that comes with the kit is this M10 Micro GPS. It is truly small and perfect for this little quadcopter. It's going to be really nice being able to have GPS functionality on it. We could have return to home. We could have, altitude hold, all that stuff coming from the GPS. It's also got a compass on board, so just very, very full-featured for something this small. It will be interesting to see if we can get clean GPS and compass readings on a quadcopter this small. I guess the motors aren't pulling a lot of current, so that's good. It's going to limit the interference.
We're going to be using the same screws again, the M2 4mm screws. We got 21 of those.
No, we don't. We don't have 21 of them. What are you talking about? So I'm going to get out my M2 by 4mm that I have. Should have left those out the last time. Should have known we were going to need them again.
And then you want to go ahead and grab your screw, and just as simple as it is, screw it from the top. Make sure both sides are good, and there we go.
Does that just screw right into the carbon? Is that the intent? That's surprising. I'm not sure I've seen that before. Okay, let's see how that goes. And this is going to be the bottom of the GPS holder, and here's the top, and the screws are good. You can see we've got a little cutout there. I am tempted to put a washer on these, because I always find that in situations like this, the TPU is soft enough that it just kind of rips out. But whatever, we'll do it the way we're told. And I'm also very suspicious of the decision to make the screws screw straight into the carbon. And the reason I'm suspicious of that is that when you're cutting carbon, there is a small change in dimensions when you have a fresh bit on the mill versus when the bit is getting dull. And so it seems like making these holes sized just right that the M2 screw goes into them, it seems like if there's not extremely tight tolerances on the manufacturing of the carbon fiber frame, they're going to end up either too small or too loose. Mine working just fine. I would also say that when you're screwing into TPU like this, that don't screw it as tight as you can, because you will just go all the way through the TPU and crush it. Another reason why I like to use washers in this situation. We're just going to screw it down until we feel it sort of digging in and biting. The screws do seem like they're very snug. It doesn't seem like they're going to back out or need a nut or a nylock or anything like that. That seems fine. Overall, it seems fine, but it seems like it is engineered with very little tolerance for things to not be as they're intended to be. And we all know that in real life, things sometimes are how they're not intended to be. I guess what I'm saying is it seems like it's working now, but I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in the future for somebody it didn't work out well. I could be wrong.
The next step is going to be the flight controller, and obviously before you install it, there's a few things you have to do real quick, and that is going to be the grommets.
My flight controller came from the factory with the grommets pre-installed, so that's nice. As he says though, if you have to install them, there is a short side and a long side. The short side goes on top, the long side goes on bottom, and you should put them up from the bottom so you squeeze the short side through the hole, not the long side. And you kind of just carefully sort of push them through. I like to use a 1.5 millimeter driver and install the grommets, the gummies, on the flight controller. I'm also noticing that my battery tray is pre-installed, which yours may or may not be. In the instructional video, his is not pre-installed, and you have to just slide this down, this plastic piece down on top of the battery prongs. To mount the flight controller on the frame, we're going to grab these screws, the M2x12 and the M2x10. The 12 millimeter is going to go on the short side, here and here, and the 10 millimeter is going to go on the long side, there and there. I assume there's a good reason for that. Oh, I see why. It's to hold the battery tray down, which, again, mine is pre-installed. His has not been installed yet in the official instructional video. When we install the flight controller on the frame, pay attention. There is a front-facing arrow right here. The negative side goes toward the front, and the positive side goes toward the rear. You're also going to want to plug in your Express LRS and your video antenna before you mount the flight controller, because those connectors are on the bottom side of the board, and they're going to be a little tricky to get at if you don't. Those connectors are going to be here in the corner for the video, and here for the Express LRS, and they did use the smaller size of UFL connector for the Express LRS antenna. I feel like this is a controversial decision. On the one hand, it means that you can't get them backwards, but on the other hand, almost everybody in the world uses this size of UFL connector for both video and control, and it means that if you were to buy or have laying around a third-party Express LRS antenna, you wouldn't be able to use it with this flight controller. The usual argument that's made is that the smaller UFL connector is important for very, very small Whoop class flight controllers because they don't have a lot of space on the board. But here you can clearly see there's plenty of room to put the bigger connector on. They've just decided to be consistent between all their other flight controllers. And I guess that is what it is. You're going to have to use a NewBeeDrone UFL with this one. Also, I mean, it's so much smaller. It's just that much easier to break and that much more of a hassle to get on. We got to do it, though. There we go. That is on. So now the Express LRS antenna is connected. Next, it seems like the easiest thing to do will be the camera, which is going to go into this plug here. Which way goes up? I believe it's going to be this way. It seems like that was correct. And feel it's not lined up. There it is. Got it. So now we have the Express LRS antenna, we have the camera, and we have the video antenna connected as they should be. Next, we're going to install the GPS on the flight controller, and you are not going to use this cable that came with the GPS. You can set that aside and save it for later, or just throw it out. That would be used to solder the GPS to a traditional flight controller. NewBeeDrone has included this cable, which goes in the GPS on one side and the flight controller on the other, and it's just going to save you having to solder. And that is going to plug in here on the back of the flight controller, right near the USB. It's going to be this connector here, and it does angle inwards so that the wire sort of comes out the center. That's what the wire is going to look like when it's fully inserted. And if you're not sure which way the plug is up, you can take a look at my wires, how they are. That should be the correct direction. I like to give it a couple little twists just to keep the wires neat. And then what we're going to do is we will just pass that down through this hole. We're not going to mount the GPS yet, but we'll just put the wire waiting for us when the time comes. Okay, so that wire is coming out that hole there in the back, and now we can go ahead and mount the flight controller. It's a little hard to get this on camera, but the screw is going to come from this standoff into this hole, and in order to do that you have to kind of push up, and you can see, do you see how the video antenna wire is being compressed? So I think what you want to do is you want to kind of loop that around the gummy, so it kind of makes a U around the gummy, and the UFL connector is coming back at an angle as opposed to sticking out this way. If it's this way, it's going to kind of get squished in the front of this gummy. You see how I've got the video antenna wire is wrapped around that standoff and coming up to here, as opposed to going here and getting kind of all squished up in this area. So yeah, try to do that. Seems right. So we're going to grab our 10 millimeter screws, and they are going to go from the top down. Again, just like the GPS mount, they're going to go straight into the carbon. It's a really bold move, NewBeeDrone, milling screw threads straight into carbon fiber. Like, no one does this. I've never seen anyone do this. It's always either a press nut or a nut on the underside. And like that, either you're brilliant and you've invented something that no one has thought to do before, or there's a reason no one has done it, and you're like, you think you're clever, and it's going to come back and bite you, or more accurately, bite your customers later. Like, will these wallow out over time if I have to replace this flight controller or take these screws out for any reason? Yeah, absolutely. Carbon will wallow out over time. Will there be issues with the machining where the tolerances are not exactly right and the screw is a little too loose or a little too tight? I think that seems inevitable, right? It just seems like obviously that's going to happen. And if NewBeeDrone had an unimpeachable track record of innovating, of doing things that made people go, oh, that's weird, no one's done that before, why are you doing that? If they had an unimpeachable track record of doing that and being right, then I would be like, well, they get the benefit of the doubt. But NewBeeDrone often does things that no one else is doing. And sometimes they're brilliant, and sometimes there's a reason why they did it, and I understand the reason, but actually it makes a worse experience for their customers. So I don't necessarily think that they have the benefit of the doubt on this one. I don't know. Like, all you would need to do is make this screw just a little longer and then have an M2 nylock nut that would go on. It would never come off. It would add a little bit of weight, though, wouldn't it? Yeah, there's always a reason why NewBeeDrone does what they do. It's a good reason, but it's not necessarily a net positive for the customer in the long run, in my humble opinion. Those screws are going to go in until they're about flush with the bottom plate, and that will give them just the right amount of compression on these gummies to have the shock absorption without overly crushing the gummies and ruining the shock absorption. Next, we're going to install the GPS. We're going to do that by plugging in. Again, make sure you don't plug in upside down. It can be a little difficult to feel the right way where it's engaging and wants to go in versus there we go. You can kind of feel it want to go in. If you're delicate, if you're not delicate, you will just ruin it. And then the NewBeeDrone logo is the one with the antenna. This side that says M10 Micro GPS, that side goes down and the NewBeeDrone logo goes up. And that is just going to squish in here, sort of wrap around like so. There you go. Again, this is the underside that's facing down, and here is the top side facing up.
Let's go ahead and do the final steps, and that's going to be soldering the motors to the flight controller.
I think I'm going to give the motor wires a twist, just because it'll help keep them neat. They're relatively thin, and if we just have them loose, they'll kind of be all straggly. The other thing that's going to do is help take up some of the slack. When you twist wires like this, you just don't want to twist them to that point where it starts to kink back on itself, right? But you want to just get a nice spiral, no tension on the wires. And if we look at the length of the wires, we can see that the wire is like almost the perfect length. Rather than like try and get it the perfect length and risk cutting it too short, I'm just going to give it a twist. I'm going to cut the connector off, and I'm going to strip and tin the motor wires. This is not going to be a soldering tutorial. I'm going to assume that you know how to solder. If you need a soldering tutorial, then I will put a link in the video description below to my soldering tutorial. It does occur to me that almost every part of this build is solder free. And so you might be asking, well, why did they make me solder the motor wires when they could have made the whole build solder free by putting plugs on the flight controller? But I got to say, I agree with this decision because the plugs have higher resistance. They have higher electrical resistance, and they make the motors perform worse. And especially on a little 1S build like this, we need the most efficiency we can possibly get. So I think I agree with this decision. Don't worry about which wire goes to which of the 3 motor pads. The specific way it's wired up controls whether the motor spins clockwise or counterclockwise, and we can sort that out in Betaflight later. We've got all 4 of the motors soldered to the flight controller now. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to get these 4 pieces of tape that come with the kit, and we're going to tape the motor wires down. This is a very nice fabric tape that NewBeeDrone has included. I like fabric tape for taping motor wires down. You can buy wire harness tape on Amazon. It's kind of a fabric, abrasion resistant. It's pretty good. A little more durable than electrical tape. Electrical tape's made from PVC or nylon, and it splits, whereas the fabric tape has a little bit more give to it. This is a nice thin tape as well. Very good, lightweight for this micro-sized build. I'm just going to tape that down neatly, like you see there.
All right, so now we're in the last step so we can plug in our battery. So what you're going to need is your battery holder, your battery strap, and also those M2 12mm screws that I mentioned earlier.
So this is a little bit weird because mine came from the factory with the battery holder already installed, and it came with a separate battery holder. I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe they've started shipping it with the battery holder pre-installed, or maybe this is just a case where the YouTube creator got something that's a little different than the actual customer gets. I guess what we'll do is we'll just watch the official installation instructions in case you're following this video, but I will not be following along with that step because mine's already installed.
The cool thing is, let's say I'm flying and I break it. The cool thing is that NewBeeDrone provides 2 of these.
Oh, okay. Now it makes sense. This is a spare in case the other one breaks, but it still doesn't explain why it's pre-installed. Yeah, so from the instructions in the manual, it looks like it just slides down over the top, and then the screws go through here to hold it on. This is attached. I cannot figure out what's attaching it to the flight controller. Like, I really cannot. Is there an adhesive? Is there... It is thoroughly attached. It's not glued down. It just seems to be attached by the... Oh, okay, I don't know what I did differently. Now it just slid up. Maybe it wasn't attached that well to... Oh, just needed a wiggle. Okay, well, it was really attached, but apparently it just needed a wiggle. So that just slides off or slides on. Great, no problem. That is going to make it easy. Oh, see, no, now it doesn't want to come again. There's something about, like, you have to wiggle it a certain way to get it to release. That's weird. Oh, there we go. I got it. Now I can put the battery strap underneath. It does come with 2 battery straps, so make sure you separate those. Don't accidentally install both of them as if they were one. And it's going to go fuzzy side down and Velcro side up. I guess both sides are Velcro technically. Pass that under there and press that down. That's correct. And then we're going to get our 12 millimeter screws, and they are going to go in the front and back, coming down from the top and into the carbon. Make sure that your GPS wires are not, well, number one, make sure you're not like screwing into the GPS wires, but number two, make sure that they are neatly to one side of the standoff, so that, I don't know, just because that's the right way to do it. Once those two 12 millimeter screws are installed front and rear and screwed into the proper tension, that is the finished build for this LionBee. The only thing left to do is a smoke check. And very nice feature, NewBeeDrone has got reverse polarity protection on this flight controller. So if you accidentally plug the battery in backwards, no harm done. Normally the smoke would come out of another flight controller like this. Instead, we just put it in the right way, and I mean, what's to smoke check? It's just a complete build, but there we go. Oh yeah, you knew it was going to happen, didn't you? You should have known it was going to happen. You want to see how this happens? That probably means you're going to watch the rest of the video. And if you do watch the rest of the video, hey, consider joining my Patreon. Easy way to support me, the best way to support me, a couple dollars a month, link in the video description below if you feel that I've earned it. And if you don't feel that I've earned it, keep watching the content. Like, I don't care. I'm not going to stop making it, but I sure would love you to think about whether you think I'm worth $2 a month or more, maybe more. Link in the video below. Now it's time to find out how this thing flies. And I want to preface this by saying I don't expect this to be like a freestyle monster, but that's not what it's intended to be. I am going to do a full throttle punch out. I am going to see how hard we can push it in sharp turns, just because I always want to know that about drones. But ultimately, we have to kind of set our expectations for what it's actually meant to be. Doesn't get any easier than that. Where'd the battery strap go? I lost the battery strap. I haven't even test hovered this, have I? Oh, okay. All right, so let's see here. Hover throttle is going to be, 18%. This might be a freestyle monster. That's a surprisingly good thrust to weight ratio. Like the lower the hover throttle, the higher the thrust to weight ratio, right? I'm not going to push it just yet, because the other thing I'm not convinced about it will be its crashability. So I don't want to just destroy it. How many amps are we pulling? 8, 9 amps, 10 amps, assuming that's accurate, which we'll see how much flight time we get off this 3000 milliamp hour battery. The camera is really bad. I don't know. All micro, ultra lightweight cameras are compromising to some degree because the sensor is so small. NewBeeDrones, are they worse than usual? I feel like they are. I'm sorry. I was gonna be like, oh, I don't know, maybe they're all bad. I feel like NewBeeDrones are worse than some of the others. But you know, there you go. It's a little bobbly there. Okay. Okay. We haven't really done anything yet, but just this kind of slow flying. I'm pretty happy with it. It just feels like a drone, right? That's the first thing I think you want when you're going to try to do something different. Like, I'm going to fly a drone on an 18650 cell instead of a lithium polymer cell. Like, the first thing you can do is meet the baseline of the way I'm used to drones flying, and then you could exceed it. Make it better in some way. Like, the first thing I'm going to do is look for things to complain about. Let's do a full throttle punch out. Let's see how it punches out. Ready? 3, 2, 1. It's not the worst. I'll do a little dive here. Pulled out of the dive just fine. Well, I don't have to scratch my nose. Oh god, video's being shitty. What's the video doing? What's the video doing? What was that? Oh, I held my radio up near my face. That's my fault. I was trying to scratch my nose. Okay. Okay, let's do another dive. Got some shakes when we go up high. And no yaw washout in the dive. Oh, no, as I turned there, no, nothing weird. Got down full throttle there just because I didn't want to hit the ground, but That's just flying better than I expected. Certainly better than Prevo. There's some big bobbles there, okay. Certainly better than previous drones I've flown off an 18650, which were very compromised. Camera's not helping. Oh, big bobbles there. Okay. Okay, got started to get a little excited doing freestyle. How's my battery life? 3.86 volts, doing great. Big bobbles there, big bobbles there. I mean, generally what you would expect from something like this is you would have relatively small and light motors to try to improve the flight time, and that would make them not very torquey. Coming under this tree, the camera is not filling me with confidence because I just cannot see the little details. I mean, analog is not the best for that, but it could be better than this. Nevertheless, how's the video transmitter? I haven't really pushed range on the video transmitter. Let's go behind the house here. It's hanging in there. We should nominally be at 400 milliwatts, which I think is the max. It just says max. This is a fun to fly, though. What if we go behind the house? Oh, right, I gotta turn my head. I gotta turn my head. Gotta stay. Okay, see how dark that is? I can't really see anything. Let me turn my head slightly to get... So go behind the house. Yeah, we're doing okay, as long as I turn my head just a smidge. Oh God, can't see, can't see. Can't see. I think there's no chance of getting out of that without... like, the motors just don't have enough torque to bust out of that. I gotta go retrieve it. No damage done. Wasn't a hard crash. I do not have the props screwed on. I just have them friction fit for convenience and weight savings. Props did not come off. We got a bend here in the camera, or the antenna tube. It is a kind of a stiff plastic that is going to kink and crease and bend. I guess it was enough weight. Should that be like a floppy fabric? I don't know. Let's keep flying. Happy that the battery didn't pop out. Yeah, so the issue there was I couldn't see because of the camera being shitty. Honestly though, like, this is a very enjoyable drone to fly. As long as you kind of stick to the more cruisy style of flying. Don't try to do any like snappy, oh, okay. Oh, hey, good job. Don't try to do any snappy freestyle tricks too much. Came back up from that hitting the ground. The motors have enough torque to stop that spin and to recover. That's nice. This is alright. This is alright. I don't hate this. This is going to be bad video if I drop down in here because of where the house is between me. Yeah, so I'm going to have to stay in this area. Little bobbles there. Little bobbles. Like if the battery's getting weaker, I can feel the throttle getting mushy. I'm higher in the throttle now as I start pushing a little. How much can it do racy kind of stuff, like sharp turns? Throttle is super mushy. I can't look down to see if the battery's sagging. Big bobbles as we go through the turns. Nevertheless, this is not like the worst. Like 7 years ago, if a 5-inch quad flew like this, I would have said it was the best quad I'd ever flown. You know. I mean, for a 1S, off an 18650, this is ridiculous. And we're at 356 volts, and this battery will go down to 3.0 volts, no problem. 2.7, 2.8 maybe. So like 7 minutes of flight time. We're nowhere near the end of this battery. I can feel that I'm higher in the throttle than I was. I might want to do some VBAT sag compensation in Betaflight to give me more consistent throttle response over the whole battery. Because this battery is just going to have a wild difference in its throttle response from full to empty compared to a traditional LiPo. Oh, where am I going? Where am I going? Can't see where I'm going. Where am I going? I can't see where I'm going. I got too carried away. But still fine. Full throttle punch out, 3.2, still hanging in there. A little bit of sag on the battery, but like going from 3.5 to 3.2 is nothing for this battery. That's well above like, oh, you're almost empty. You just gotta kind of dial it back a little bit to its capabilities. Oh, wow, needed more throttle than I expected there. Okay, oh, woo, okay. Turtle mode, shall we? Hello. Did I configure turtle mode on this drone? I thought I did. Hello? No? I guess I didn't. Well, isn't that something? Yeah, I was going to do it. I was going to do it for this frame. We will have to replace the entire bottom plate. That's to be expected on a drone this size class. That's a single piece bottom plate. A lot of cutouts for weight saving. That'll involve taking the motors off, taking the camera cage off, taking the flight controller off, take out some screws, put it back on, be back in the air again. You know what? Actually, no, hold on. No conclusion yet. There's one more thing I gotta check, and that's, I wanted to check the GPS performance, because on a small drone like this, with the GPS so close in, was it worth a damn at all? Let's do that real quick, and then we'll do a conclusion. Can't read the, here, just go there. Go, there we go. No, I still can't read it in the upper right. It's still blown out. It's, where'd the, I'll put my, I know it needs to be in the sun. How about that? There we go. Okay. Yeah. Give it a second to lock sats. 9 sats, 8 sats, 9 sats. That's decent. The HDOP is going between 3 and 4, which is not good. You want an HDOP, that's the horizontal declination of precision. Basically, it's when the GPS says you're here, you are actually within a circle around that point. And how big is that circle? Obviously, the smaller the circle, the more precise the GPS. We can see here we've got 9 to 10 sats, 8, 9, 10 sats being locked, but an HDOP only of 4.9, which is really quite bad. You want an HDOP below 2.0, 2 meters. And, oh, it just went up. 1.7, that's good. That's good enough. Below 1.0 is fantastic. Below 2.0 is acceptable. Okay, so this GPS basically passes muster. The other thing I want to know is, like, how is the compass performance? Because again, on a small drone like this, and especially with an 18650 cell, they make a lot more electromagnetic interference than a pouch cell. So first of all, is the compass like accurate? Let me get out my compass app on my phone. North is this way. Which way is north? That, which way is north? The other thing I want to know is, I can't fly the drone because it's broken, but if I spin the motors and draw power, does the compass precess due to electromagnetic interference? Here, let's test that. So I'm gonna arm the drone carefully while holding it. Let's see if I hurt my fingers. I hopefully no. And I'm not gonna move the drone at all, and I'm gonna see if the compass moves as I move, raise the throttle. No. Wait a second though. Hang on. Why does it say I'm facing south? I'm facing north. That's north. Why does it say I'm facing south? That's not north. Okay. I don't know what's up there. That's weird. All right. So the compass calibration seems not right. What I would do, flight testing would help, but I can't fly it anymore. It seems like the compass is not immediately actually correct. The compass did not move when I raised the throttle, but it also was pointing 180 degrees the wrong direction, which oftentimes means that you're getting electromagnetic interference. And frankly, having the compass right next to the terminal of the battery, the positive terminal of the battery, I think the compass is going to be absolutely unusable on this, just based on my past experience with other drones where the compass was close to the terminal of an 18650 cell. I think you're going to find that the compass is no good, and you're going to want to go into Betaflight and turn off MAG, turn off the compass in the configuration tab, so that Betaflight relies only on the GPS. The GPS seems to be doing okay. You can get a heading indicator off the GPS, although it only works when you're flying straight forward. If you hover in place, if you rotate in place, or if you fly sideways, the GPS heading will be incorrect because it's based on your direction of travel, not your actual direction you're facing. It kind of doesn't matter because Betaflight only has rudimentary return to home. If you are trying to do Betaflight return to home or GPS rescue, as Betaflight calls it, and you're getting weird, wild things, turn the MAG off. And I bet that'll fix it. If it works for you, great. That means the compass is working. What's the conclusion about this little guy? Should you buy it? This is the best 18650 1S drone I've ever flown. I think it's one of the best in existence. Now, somewhere out there, there's someone who's made one that they think is better. I haven't flown it, and they're mad right now because Bardwell is only considering a commercial product, not a little one-off product that I made that's super good. What can I say? Can't judge what I didn't fly. And it's very good, and it is an achievement. But should you spend your hard-earned money and buy it? I don't know, because, here's the thing. You're gonna crash. You're gonna crash. If you fly a drone, you're gonna crash it. Unless you just fly it slowly up in the sky, and who wants to do that? You want to get going. You're going to crash it, and eventually it is going to break. And it didn't take that much to break this. This thing has enough power. It has plenty of power. I got 7-8 minutes, and this battery I probably can get, I would guess, 15 minutes of flying. And that wasn't even terribly sedate flying. You could make this a little heavier, NewBeeDrone. You could make this a little heavier, you could make the bottom plate a little more durable, and I think it would be much better. What if you, could you double the thickness of the bottom plate? How much weight would that add? And then your hover point would go from 17% on the throttle, which is pretty freaking powerful. It would go up to 22 or 25%, which is still fine, and then you'd have just a little more durability and a little more ability to enjoy this. I don't know, presumably NewBeeDrone thought of that, and there's a reason they didn't go that way, but for me, I think that as much fun as this is to fly, and as convenient as it is to just be able to dunk, good to go, I think that I would be annoyed with how often I would break the damn thing and how much time I would spend replacing the bottom plate if I actually spent my own money to buy it. But you might feel differently. If you crash less than me, if you're looking for the convenience of just dunk and go fly, and the convenience of being able to charge without dealing with a traditional LiPo charger, just slot it in, charges up, and go. There's certainly a lot to be said for this thing, and I stand by that this is the best 1S 18650 drone I've ever flown. I wish that it were more durable, I said that. I wish that the compass could be made to work better, maybe move this a little further away, or maybe that's just a lost cause. I wish that there was an iNav target for this flight controller so I could really start to, if I got 15 minutes of flight time, I could do some cool iNav waypoint return to home stuff. It would be fun to be able to treat this as a dev kit. You know, recently I was trying to figure out how to do something with waypoints in iNav, and there was a fair chance that I was going to crash the drone trying to figure it out. And I really wished that I could take just a little small drone like this and set a couple waypoints in a field and just fly it in a square without risking a big 7-inch drone or a 5-inch drone and have no risk of hurting anybody or damaging anything if things went wrong. I thought this would have been really cool if it had iNav on it. NewBeeDrone, make an iNav target for this. Oh, by the way, wish list. I wish this was a standard Betaflight target. I wish that they had put a serial Express LS receiver on here instead of SPI. Guess what? I heard a rumor that they're going to do that because they heard the backlash. That may not, you may not get that depending on when you buy it, but they may fix that. But the custom targets are also annoying. I know NewBeeDrone has talked about why they do that. It's still annoying. Why can't I have an iNav target for this? Give it to me. I think that's more than enough conclusion. The only thing left to say is if you have decided you want to buy this, go down in the video description and pick it up. From the links in the video description, they're affiliate links. If you value the work that I do here, if you enjoy the content, and God knows if you watch it to the end, you must have enjoyed it, or maybe you just were not paying attention. Just left it running while you went to take a shower. Use those links in the video description below. I get a small commission and it really helps me out. Do you want to see how far we've come? I'm going to put a card on screen to the last time I reviewed a 1S 18650 drone. And first of all, you're going to see young Bardwell, because this was years ago. And I think you're going to be really appreciative of how much better this is compared to how sucky that one was. I don't know. It's been a while since I saw the video. Maybe you feel differently. Here's the card. And the link in the video description below if you don't see the card. See you there.